Good morning, Year 10. This video is to talk you through your project. Now, I'd like you to start your project today, and this will take you into week 1. It does assume that you've done some of the Virus Education Perfect and completed the COVID-19 Education Perfect activity. And it will require you to understand nucleic acids and proteins. Some of you have not completed the quiz that I put onto forms, so I will ask you to complete that today as well. Let me just talk you through this. So the aim is for you to produce a poster or an information graphic to provide information or to educate people around your age about this disease, COVID-19. Okay, so the template I've put on LMS, it's in your Teams file, and I've put it into your class notes as well, into Teams. This provides some scaffolding, some structure, and gives you information on what you must include, and it's not exhaustive. You can put extra things in it, but I must say that the most important thing here is to keep the text low. I'm not going to impose a word count on you, but keep the number of words that you're using quite low and keep the visuals high. Okay, so you're choosing to communicate this message in a very visual way because people might just walk past your poster in the school corridors or GP surgery or wherever they might be, gymnastics, swimming, and it needs to catch their eye and draw them in and communicate very quickly and effectively. So you need to talk about diseases in general and define what a pathogen is. Okay, so this has to be a little bit educational. Then talk about a virus. Now, the size of a virus is an interesting one because most people can't really comprehend something that's that small. The other thing, as we get down here, that people tend to think of viruses as the same as bacteria, and they're definitely not. So describing viruses as non-living. So it's a non-living protein coat with some nucleic acid inside. In the case of COVID-19, we're looking at RNA inside of it. And it also has a phospholipid envelope around it, which is actually helping it to invade our cells. But that does lead in nicely to one of the precautions and preventative measures that we can take, which is hand washing, because soap breaks down that phospholipid and actually damages the virus. Okay, so that's why soap's really important. This is about the virus and the disease it's causing. So make a very clear distinction between those two. So the coronavirus is the particle, okay, the pathogen itself, and the COVID-19 is the disease with the symptoms that it causes. Okay. This is just a little bit of background, and you might choose to organise it into these sections in your poster. A little bit of background on the spread of COVID-19 so far, and where we're up to date. Now, obviously, if you do this in week 1 of term 2, the data is going to change, okay? So I'm not going to check the data, but I will ask you to put underneath any graphs that you include, put a date stamp in there so that I can see when you retrieve that and then how relevant it is. If you put a date stamp of April the 15th and you show today's data, then that won't be quite right, okay? You might actually choose just to use graphs and things as an example of the spread rather than where we're up to at the moment. So, it looks like I've actually got 2 copies of that for some reason. Let's get rid of this bit. If that's in yours, I'm sorry. Here, this one is actually quite important, so I have put it as an extension activity. But the research going on into COVID-19 at the moment is extensive. Many of the developed countries around the world are investing a lot of money and time and expertise into trying to, firstly, they identified the virus, and we did a lot of that here in Australia. And then they're working on how to try and treat the virus and also prevent the virus from infecting people using vaccinations. Okay, so do a little bit of research, and there's some resources. Oh, there's so many resources available to you. Do some research and share some of the things that you find most interesting in your poster. Okay, so you could do like an interesting things that are occurring in science around the disease and the treatment at the bottom of your page. Very, very important before we stop this part is that you must reference every resource so that the reader can find out more information if they want to, and also your ideas can be authenticated. It can be, we can go back to the source and just check that the way that you've presented that is correct. So scientists always, when they're communicating, must credit their references. So it's not a huge project. I expect it to take you maybe 2 hours to get it absolutely right, maybe 3 if you get involved in looking into some of the research here. So, and then in term 2, week 1 or week 2, we will collect these together and work out how we're going to present them to each other. Okay, good luck.